The battle among the best camera phones comes down to more than mere hardware specs. How your shot ends up looking is just as important, and that means putting cameras to the test to see how they benefit from photo processing features and computational photography. For that reason, every phone we test goes through head-to-head photo face-offs, allowing us to see how a phone's camera output compares to what its closest competitors can do. Our head-to-head camera testing covers photos in a variety of conditions: outdoors, low light, portrait shots, selfies, and more. That helps us to find camera phones that meld the best sensors and computational photography and AI to extract the best possible light, color, and detail out of every scenario. We have listed the top 6 camera phones and their features, plus the things you need to consider to help you choose the best one for you. Don't forget, the link to every product featured in this video is waiting for you in the description below. You can also find a more detailed analysis and comparison tool on our website, legitpic.com. Number 6. Oppo Find X5 Pro. The Oppo Find X5 Pro was one of the most talked about top-end smartphones, and mostly because of its camera. Thanks to help from Swedish camera manufacturer Hasselblad, there's a 32-megapixel selfie on the front and 3 lenses on the back, neatly grouped into a kind of plateau. A main 50-megapixel with a super-fast f1.7 aperture, an ultra-wide-angle 50-megapixel camera with f2.2, and a 13-megapixel telephoto lens with f2.4. Gone is the Find X3 Pro's dedicated microscopic macro lens. The 2 main lenses are fantastic with great vivid colors, and the low apertures allow fast shots. The telephoto lens is less impressive, with only a 2x zoom, which lags behind much of the competition. The new Silicon X neutral processing unit applies AI image algorithms right on raw data to improve noise reduction in low light for photos and 4K video. Meanwhile, Hasselblad's filters that can add a film-like quality to the most mundane of images. Cameras aside, the Oppo Find X5 Pro has a unique, sleek design. Its camera's bump is a smooth slope rather than a clumsy protrusion. The display is also very good and highly adjustable. Number 5. Sony Xperia 1 Mark IV. Sony's been putting out some great cameras, so you would hope for good things from its camera phones, and the 4th generation Xperia 1 doesn't disappoint. It justifies its place on the list thanks to a few key features more for professional photographers than average consumers. The zoom camera on the Xperia 1 Mark IV has a moving lens, which facilitates continuous optical zoom between 3.5x and 5.2x, giving the phone a competitive edge for people who like zoom photography. The phone also sports a physical shutter button, which can be partially depressed to find focus or fully depressed to take a picture, giving it a camera-esque experience. Meanwhile, for the first time on a Sony phone, you can record 4K and 120 frames per second footage on any of the 3 rear cameras and the one on the front, which is useful for videographers and bloggers. We also quite like Sony's creative app like Photography Pro and Cinema Pro. There's also Audio Pro for music. The photography app isn't the easiest to use since it's modeled on cameras rather than smartphones. But if you're familiar with using a DSLR, you'll have no problem with it. Number 4. The OnePlus is a fantastic all-rounder that hits almost all of the points expected of a flagship phone in 2023, including a great display, top-end performance, all-day battery life, and a brilliant camera. The smartphone has an eye-catching design and a slightly sparkly finish. On the front, there's a 6.7 AMOLED screen with a 2K resolution, 120Hz refresh rate, and LPTO3 technology, meaning that it can drop as low as 1 Hz to save battery life on the always-on display. Turn the phone around and you'll find a triple camera, including a 50-megapixel main sensor, a 48-megapixel ultra-wide sensor, and a 32-megapixel telephoto lens. We found that the camera was capable of impressive color reduction with 10-bit color, while HDR helped to tackle bright backlighting. Low light performance is particularly impressive, and you can even record video at 8K, 24 frames per second, though the rather impressive crop means that most people will probably want to stick to 4K 60 frames per second. Otherwise, the 16-megapixel selfie camera is good enough for calls, but the 1080p limit and lack of autofocus means we'd recommend using the rear camera for video. The OnePlus 11 combines the flagship performance of Qualcomm's Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 with its own Oxygen OS Android skin, offering a more user-friendly and intuitive experience than software from other Chinese manufacturers, like Vivo's Fun Touch OS or Xiaomi's MIUI. Widgets and music controls can be easily reached with the shelf feature, and the phone comes with 4 years of OS upgrades, meaning you won't need to worry about outdated software this time next year. The OnePlus 11 also boasts an all-day battery life, and our reviewer was left with around 30% battery at the end of each day. There's support for speedy 100-watt fast charging, although wireless charging is sadly nowhere to be found. While there are a number of minor ways in which OnePlus could improve this phone, we have no major complaints after testing the OnePlus 11, making it one of the best all-arounders available right now. Number 3. The Google Pixel 7 Pro. The Pixel 7 Pro is simply the best camera phone you can buy at its price. It's that simple. It wipes the floor with the similarly priced iPhone 14 and beats the much pricier iPhone 14 Pro in a few key areas. While the 7 Pro's raw capture isn't particularly impressive, and some traditionalists might not like how the Google processes photos, the camera mix is still mind-bogglingly good as far as point-and-shoot photography goes. With a sleek design, a mighty screen, and excellent future-proofing by way of continued software support, you get a lot for your money here. Even though the phone had a couple of small hiccups in our time with it, specifically when it came to connectivity as a package, you'll be hard-pressed to get a better value flagship phone than the Pixel 7 Pro. Number 2. iPhone 14 Pro and Pro Max. If you're strictly Team Apple, the latest flagship iPhones are some of the best camera phones out there. The iPhone 14 Pro and Pro Max offer enough of an improvement over the 13 series to land on our list, even if they don't look all that different design-wise. The Pro and Pro Max have significantly better cameras than the standard iPhone, sporting that additional third lens, a telephoto with 3x optical zoom, macro abilities on the ultra-wide and higher resolution on the main camera. The 14 Pro and 14 Pro Max have the same cameras as well, with 48-megapixel main sensors that are 65% larger than those found on the 13 Pro Max. That means they let in more light, improving performance in dark conditions. The 12-megapixel ultra-wide also gets improved low-light performance, thanks to a new sensor and more focus pixels. We found that with an f2.2 aperture, it's now also sharper. Number 1. Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra. The Samsung Galaxy S3 Ultra is the reigning best camera phone because of its incredible versatility. It boasts so many lenses and features that there is simply no photo it can't shoot. Other devices may produce slightly better images in some situations, but the Galaxy S23 Ultra can handle every situation well, from close-ups to night photos to ultra-zoom distances. While the 12-megapixel ultra-wide and dual 3x and 10x 10-megapixel telephoto sensors on the back of the S23 Ultra feel decidedly familiar, the phone shrugs off the primary 108-megapixel resolution sensor seen on previous entries in the series and replaces it for the first time on the Samsung phone with a whopping 200-megapixel primary camera to deliver a consistently impressive photography experience. Such a change in hardware can sometimes result in a drop in quality for some manufacturers. But much as with Google's move to a new 50-megapixel primary sensor on its Pixel 6 series, and Apple's shift from a 12-megapixel to a 48-megapixel primary sensor the year after with the iPhone 14 Pro line, it's clear that Samsung's camera team ensured that the output from the S23 Ultra's 200-megapixel adaptive pixel sensor offers just as consistent and impressive an experience as with its predecessor right out of the gate. For users who want to get more granular with the Ultra's photography experience, the Expert RAW mode integrated into the camera UI supports an output of up to 50 megapixels. The Ultra also lets you snap 200 megapixel stills as JPEGs if you want to play with the full sensor's available detail. Samsung also continues to work closely with big social brands like Snap, TikTok, and Instagram to ensure that the S23 Ultra's benefits from higher fidelity images and video quality, as well as tighter integration with creative features within each social app, something rival Android phone makers miss out on. And there you have it, our elite collection of top-tier camera phones. Found this video informative? If yes, an appreciative thumbs up is always welcome. Your choice matters to us. Drop a comment below sharing which phone is going to be your new companion. That's it for this episode, folks. If you found value in this video and it assisted you in any manner, do share the love with a like. To ensure you don't miss out on future tech insights, click the subscribe button right away. We're eager to welcome you back to our next video. Until then, signing off. Catch you on the flip side.